prajanam. Sa Vasudevanucharam prashantam brihaspate praktanayam pratitam alingyagadham pranayena bhadram swanama prichad bhagavat prajanam.
सवासुदेवानुचरं प्रशन्तं बृहस्पते प्राक्तनयं प्रतीतम् अलिङ्गगाधं प्रणयेन भद्रं स्वानाम् अपृच्छद्भगवत्प्रजानाम्।
हरे कृष्ण। स वासुदेवानुचरं प्रशान्तं बृहस्पते प्राक्तनयं प्रतीताम् आलिङ्गया गाढं प्रणयेन भद्रां स्वनाम अपृच्छद् भगवत् प्रजानाम्।
हरे कृष्ण। स वसुदेवानुचरं प्रसन्तं बृहस्पते प्राक्तनयं प्रतीतम् आलिङ्गया गदाधं प्रणयेन भद्रं श्वनाम् अभ्रच्छद् भगवत प्रजानाम्। हरे कृष्ण।
Anyone else? Okay. Word for word. I'm sorry, just give me a moment here. Okay. Word for word translation. Sa, he, Vidura. Vasudeva, Lord Krishna. Anucharam, constant companion. Prashantam, very sober and gentle. Brihaspate, of Brihaspati, the learned spiritual master of the demigods. Prak, formerly. Tanayam, son or disciple. Pratitam, acknowledged. Alingya, embracing. Gadham, very feelingly. Pranayena, in love. Bhadram, auspicious. Swanam, his own. Aprichat, asked. Bhagavat, of the personality of Godhead. Prajanam, family. Then, due to his great love and feeling, Vidura embraced him, Uddhava, who was a constant companion of Lord Krishna and formerly a great student of Brihaspati's. Vidura then asked him for news of the family of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Vidura was older than Uddhava, like a father, and therefore when the two met, Uddhava bowed down before Vidura, and Vidura embraced him because Uddhava was younger, like a son. Vidura's brother Pandu was Lord Krishna's uncle, and Uddhava was a cousin to Lord Krishna. According to social custom, therefore, Vidura was to be respected by Uddhava on the level of his father. Uddhava was a great scholar in logic, and he was known to be a son or disciple of Brihaspati, the great learned priest and spiritual master of the demigods. Vidura asked Uddhava about the welfare of his relatives, although he already knew that they were no longer in the world. This inquiry appears to be very queer, but Srila Jiva Goswami states that the news was shocking to Vidura, who therefore inquired again due to great curiosity. Thus his inquiry was psychological and not practical. Savasudevanucharam prashantam Brihaspate Praktanayam Pratitam Alingagadam Pranayena Bhajram Swanama Pritchad Bhagavat Prajanam. Then, due to his great love and feeling, Vidura embraced him, Uddhava, who was a constant companion of Lord Krishna and formerly a great student of Brihaspati's. Vidura then asked him for news of the family of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschada Deshatarine. I very much like this moment of Vidura meeting Uddhava. Is very sweet moment, beautiful moment of two amazing devotees meeting each other, getting ready for some Krishna Katha, and how they relate to each other also has so much practical examples for us how to behave. Very nice scene, and so important in the whole, this we've mentioned before, how this meeting of Vidura first with Uddhava and then the handoff to Maitreya is just by, percentage of verses in the Bhagavatam, such an important moment and such an important thread of the Bhagavatam, these discussions. So this is a very nice moment, them first meeting. And they're meeting, and they're both in such tremendous ecstasy. I liked this line at the end, that his inquiry was psychological, not practical. It was not practical because in one sense, Vidura already knew the answer, that I'm not sure how much time had passed since he left Hastinapur, but apparently some time, that at least the war had taken place and so many family members were lost and so much had happened, and maybe it was also after the Pandavas' disappearance. So he knew all that. He actually knew all about that, but still he's inquiring for the sake of hearing about the great devotees and also in ecstasy. Just like if you lose a loved one, you may, wake up in the morning and even forget that you'd lost a loved one, say, oh, where is such and such person now? And then you remember, oh, yes, they're gone. So whatever it was psychological, not practical. Psychological, meaning that it was due to his emotional state that these questions were being asked. But this meeting is so nice, so beautiful. It starts off he is Vidura. So he came there, he met Uddhava, and what did he do? Alingya. He embraced him. It's also described that Uddhava, being so-called junior, bowed down, and Vidura, being senior, embraced him. So whatever the case may be about their social status, by age, by whatever, but still the love was so intense that they embraced. Alingya. How did they? Alingya Gada. Gada means, let's see, Prabhupada translates as very feelingly. Gadam literally means like very firm, very strong, very like powerful and serious. So it wasn't just like a casual embrace, like you meet a casual friend, you give him a hug. But this was like a real loving embrace between these two persons who were already known to each other. It said Vidura is the brother of Pandu, or half brother if you want to get technical, but the brother of Pandu, so he was the uncle of Lord Krishna in that sense. And Uddhava is the cousin of Lord Krishna. And Vidura is also related in other ways. His grandfather, actually in one place, Prabhupada says that Vidura was the sister of Rohini. And actually, they're brother and sister, just like Prabhupada would sometimes use the phrase cousin brothers. So not fully genetically brother and sister, meaning they have exactly the same parents, but they have that brother, sister, cousin relationship. Vidura, of course, his genetic father was Vyas, but his common father was Vichitravirya, whose father was Shantanu, and Shantanu's brother Balika is the Vidur. Rohini is descended from that line, from Shantanu's brother. So in so many ways, he's related with Krishna and tied in with the whole family of Krishna, the Purus and the Kauravas. He's related on both the Kaurava side and the Pandava side, that means. So such a close friend, and they're similar also, Vidura and Uddhava, in that they're both, how do you say, like advisors. Uddhava is Krishna's personal, very learned, very intelligent, that Krishna would consult him. What should I do? How should I do, like this, like that? So he was the advisor, and Vidura was also the advisor of the Pandavas. So in so many ways, they're what's that? Srila Rupa Goswami says, talking about sadhu sangha. He says that sadhu sangha should be swajatiya snigdha. Swajatiya means that devotees, they make their loving relationships among like-minded persons, swajatiya, within the same type, within the same class, not class in terms of like mundane caste, but like-minded, that like-minded devotees become friends, and snigdha, very loving, very affectionate. So this is such a nice example of that, Vidura and Uddhava. So alingya gadam, very feelingly and very strongly, even physically, strongly embracing each other. And how? Pranayena, with love, with great love, they were embracing each other and meeting each other. And we can imagine, or we could try to imagine, the emotion and the feelings involved. Two of the topmost devotees, some of the most intimate, at least outside of Vrindavan, some of the most intimate associates of Krishna and the Pandavas, and very advanced, and also, like I said, like-minded. They have similar jobs. You could say they were similarly employed, and now they're both similarly sort of retired. And so this meeting was very touching, and pranayena, with great love. Pranaya means love or affection, and it comes from the Sanskrit root of pranaya is prana. Prana means life, your life breath. So when someone is, and this expression is used in common talk, or also in the Bhagavatam, there's descriptions of devotees, and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of devotees, that Krishna is dear to them as your life breath. So this is pranaya. So this is how Vidura reacted, this loving embrace with this wonderful person he was so happy to see and appreciating. And then on the other side is Uddhava. What an amazing person is Uddhava. Described as the topmost friend of Krishna outside of Vrindavan, with his friendly relationship. So friendly that when Krishna had even special message to send to the Brijavasis, he entrusted Uddhava with that message to carry. So Uddhava has all these wonderful, wonderful qualities. What's that? Sarvaya gunas tacha samasite sura. That the devotee, because they're surrendered to Krishna, has all the good qualities of the demigods. And actually, all the good qualities of the demigods is an understatement, because the devotees have actually superior qualities to the demigods. So this is Uddhava has these wonderful qualities. What's the other? Titikshava Karunikai Surida Sarvidehinam Ajata Shatrava Shanta Sadhava Sadhu Bhushanam. That the devotee has all the good qualities. He's so tolerant and he's so compassionate upon everyone. Surida Sarvidehinam, and so friendly that he's the friend to all living entities. Surida sarvadehinam, all living beings, all embodied beings. The devotee is their friend and their wisher. Suridam, within the heart of the devotee, he has these friendly feelings, well-wishing and helping all living entities. Ajata shatrava shanta. For the devotee, that person who the devotee sees as his enemy was never born. A devotee never thinks that, or that type of devotee doesn't think that, oh, this person is my enemy. There's no person who's been born that the devotee thinks, oh, this is my enemy. This is also said several times, I think, about Yudhishthira Maharaj, that he never saw anyone as his enemy. And Shanta, he's peaceful. The devotee is peaceful. And peaceful doesn't mean like mundane peace. Peaceful means that he's not in the least bit, not even a touch agitated by the vicissitudes of material life. He doesn't lose his cool and start rejoicing over the temporary happiness of material life. And he doesn't sit in the corner and cry and lament and feel sorry for himself over the unhappiness of material life. This is what Shanta actually means. Sadhava Sadhubhushanam, such a saintly person. He's decorated with all of the ornaments, all of the decorations of a sadhu are decorating the personality of such an advanced devotee. So this is Uddhava. He's Vasudeva Anucharam, is from the verse. Vasudeva is Krishna. Anucharam, Srila Prabhupada says constant companion. So Anucharam means a constant companion, a constant friend. And we know this word Anuchar. This also means a follower. So someone who's a servant of someone, that's Anuchar, or someone who follows in the footsteps of a superior person, that's also Anuchar. So Uddhava is Vasudeva Anucharam. He's not only the constant friend and constant companion of Krishna, but he perfectly represents Krishna in every way by following his instructions, by rendering service to him, and by transmitting the message and exemplifying the life of being a servant of Krishna, a devotee of Krishna. This is Anucharam, Vasudeva Anucharam. In fact, the same word is used in the 10th canto about Uddhava. When Uddhava goes to Vrindavan, we probably remember at least some of the story that Krishna sent Uddhava with a message to carry to the residents of Vrindavan and especially to the gopis. And when he got to Vrindavan, the verse says, let's see, Tam Vikshya Krishnanucharam Rajastriya. So today's verse is Vasudeva Anucharam. In the 10th canto, he's described as Krishna Anucharam. Tam Vikshya. They saw him, the residents of Vrindavan saw him, Uddhava, as Krishnanucharam. Again, the constant companion and the dedicated devotee of Krishna. This is Uddhava. And who saw him like that? Rajastriya, the gopis of Vrindavan. So as soon as Uddhava entered Vrindavan, he even looked like Krishna. They had the family relationship and they were similar in appearance. And Uddhava was totally dedicated to the service of Krishna. So therefore, Tam Viksha Krishnanucharam, that the Vraja gopis, they saw Uddhava and understood this is an intimate devotee of Krishna. And actually, it's nicely put. That's the text of the Bhagavatam. But in the beginning of that chapter in the Krishna book, it's also described nicely. This is from the very beginning of that chapter, 47th chapter. When the gopis saw Uddhava, they observed that his features almost exactly resembled those of Krishna, and they could understand that he was a great devotee of Krishna's. So this is Uddhava, such a great devotee of Krishna. Therefore, of course, Vidura, who's himself a great devotee, and the devotees love to meet another devotee. They love to associate with devotees. Therefore, he's so happy and so embracing and deeply embracing Uddhava and so blissful to see him. So Uddhava, he's Vasudevanucharam. He's also in today's verse. Where is that? Sa Vasudeva Anucharam Prashantam. We heard in that verse, Titikshava Kurunikat, that the devotee is Shanta. Here, Prashantam, very sober and gentle. And again, Prashantam doesn't mean just peaceful, like mundane peace, but peaceful means very sober, very gentle. And ultimately, it means completely unswayed by material conditions. This is Prashantam. Just like also we sit. I was going to say we sing every morning, but I don't sing it every morning now. But in Philadelphia, Prasanaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So Prasanaya means that Srila Prabhupada is completely absorbed in the happiness and bliss of Krishna consciousness. Prasanaya Prashantaya, and Prashantaya means he's completely transcendental, completely peaceful, due to not being swayed by material contamination. So prashanta, this is the symptom of very topmost devotee, to be prashanta, because otherwise the tendency is that we are swayed. If we get some material happiness, we get all excited. Whoop-de-doo, I got some money, or Yahoo, I got some girlfriend or boyfriend or some money or some position or some pizza or whatever it may be, and we get all excited over some temporary material thing, which may not actually even be good for us. Oops, excuse me, I dropped. May not even be good for us, this thing, but we get all excited over it. And then something bad happens. Someone looks at us crookedly, or we don't get the raise at work, or our husband or wife speaks a harsh word, and oh, you're devastated. But someone who's prashantam is not devastated by that. Duke shanu drignam mana sukeshu vigita sriha. That the person is not swayed by the dukkha, and he's not swayed by the sukha. Vitaraga bhaya krodha. He's completely given up all the motive passion and lust, anger, greed, attachment. Stita dir munir uchite. This is the Stita di Muni. Muni, just Prabhupada said a Muni means someone who could agitate their mind in different ways. So a Muni just means a thinker, like an intellectual is a Muni. But a Stita di Muni is someone who can think properly and who is undisturbed, who's fixed. Their consciousness and their mind intelligence and their heart is fixed in Krishna consciousness. That person is a Stita di Muni, not like an ordinary Muni or an ordinary intellectual. Nasav Rishir Yasya Mata Nabinam, right? That Tarko Pratishta Shutaya Vibhina, that in order to find the truth, people argue, Tarko Pratishta, they're arguing, they're putting forward theories and arguing, you're wrong and I'm right. Shrutaya, and even based on the scriptures. They're looking in the scriptures here, there, what's the truth? Is Krishna God? Is Shiva God? Or the demigods God? Speculating on the base of scriptures. And Nasavirsha Yasya Matam Nabinam, that no one is considered a great thinker unless they come up with some new theory. The great thinkers, the mundane great thinkers, all they do is come up with new theories. I remember long ago, it was Hridayananda Maharaj who was saying, like in academia, if someone says, oh, I've come up with a new theory that surpasses such and such person, and you'll get a round of applause and you'll get your paper published, and oh, my theory has surpassed the other theory. Like, who was it? who was, we were hearing just on Wednesday, who was trying to surpass Sridhar Swami in his commentary, Vallabhacharya, right? And Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu criticized him for that. So this is how the mundane munis work. Come up with a new theory and reject the old theory, and you'll get applause. And if an intellectual says, oh, I don't have a new theory, I'm just accepting what the previous person said. He said, oh, then no one will be interested in your paper and your discussion. So the mundane munis come up with new theories, but a real muni, a Stita muni, knows how to accept the authority of Krishna and transmit that perfectly. Because again, he's like Uddhava, he's Vasudeva Anucharam, he's Krishna Anucharam, he's the perfect follower of Krishna. So he's the perfect muni. That's also actually, the purport's nice to that verse, Dukeshanu Dvignamana from Bhagavad Gita. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, but a Stita dear Muni, actually I'll go a little bit back. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. Nachasa Vrishir Yasya Matam Nabinam, Mahabharata. But a Stita dear Muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. The Stita dear Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called Prashanta Nishesha Manoratantara from Stotra Ratna, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sador Lapa. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. So this is Uddhava. Prabhupada says he's an expert in logic, having learned it from Brihaspati in the purport. Uddhava was a great scholar in logic. But he gave up all the mundane logic and speculating and thinking, oh, I'm so expert in logic, I have to come up with a new theory. No, he was completely satisfied being Krishna Anucharam. Therefore, he's a Stita Muni, the one who is actually fixed in consciousness. And this shloka quoted in the purport, Prashanta, again Prashanta Nishesha Mano Ratantara, that a person who's Prashanta Nishesha, Prashanta we discussed means peaceful due to not being influenced by the good and bad of material life. Nishesha is completely given up, completely detached from it. And therefore he's left behind Manoratantara, Manorata, the platform of mental speculation. Manorata is sometimes translated as the chariot of the mind. He's no longer held hostage and driving crazy all over the place on the chariot of the mind. Rather, he's fixed in consciousness. This is from Stotra Ratna, spoken by Yamunacharya. So again, the same thing. Prashanta, the Prashanta devotee, he's peaceful because he's completely fixed in Krishna consciousness, because that's the only way to actually become immune to the artificial hyped up joys of material life and the artificial hyped down sufferings of material life. That only by getting the higher taste of Krishna consciousness can you transcend that. Then you automatically give up the lower tastes of these material joys and sufferings in material life. So this is Uddhava, such an amazing devotee. And then there's the point of their relationship. Although Vidura was senior by a lot, actually, but still, he was ready to hear from Uddhava. He was not thinking, oh, this is some younger person, I can't hear from him, even though that's not the etiquette. According to social custom from the purport, therefore, Vidura was to be respected by Uddhava on the level of his father. But Vidura was quite ready to hear from him. But Uddhava, out of his concern for etiquette and his humility, handed him off to Maitreya to hear. But this is the relationship that the etiquette is important. The etiquette is valuable. Who is senior? Who is junior? Who's sannyasi? Who is grihasta? Who is this? Who is that? All of these are considerations. But over and above that is the consideration, who is the devotee of Krishna and who is the qualified devotee of Krishna? There's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, let's see if I can quickly find who that was. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was meeting with the devotees, and he was meeting with Mukunda, Raghunandana, and I don't have it in my notes and I can't remember. Mukunda, Raghunandana, and one other devotee who are all relatives. Oh, Narahari, that's right. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approached them and he said, I'm confused about something. Mukunda was the father and Raghunanda was his son. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Mukunda, he said, I'm a little confused. Maybe you could clarify something for me. Is it that you're the father and Raghunandan is your son? Or is Raghunandan the father and you're the son? I'm confused. Can you clarify this for me? And Mukunda said, actually, although he was the father by age and by birth and everything, although he was the father and Raghunanda was the son, he said, actually, Raghunandana is the father and I am the son. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with that. And Mukunda said, yes, because he has taught us all Krishna consciousness and brought us all to Krishna. Therefore, he is the father and I am the son. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, you have spoken correctly. Whoever gives you Krishna consciousness is the father or the guru. So just like in today's verse, it's interesting that he's called Brihaspati Tanayam, which means the son of Brihaspati. And he's not literally the son of Brihaspati. He's the disciple of Brihaspati. So this is the relationship of guru and disciple. Very nice. And Prabhupada would sometimes speak like this. This is, let's see if I can. Yes, this is in one class. Prabhupada spoke and he said, whatever we do here, it is for eternity, because it is not on the material stage, it is all on the spiritual platform. There is a song by Narottam Das Thakur, Chaku Dan Dilo Jay, Janme Janme Pita Se. Now, of course, we know because we sing it in the morning, it's Janme Janme Prabhu Se, but Prabhupada here translated or changed it, Janme Janme Pita Se. One who has opened the eyes, he is birth after birth, he is my father. Chaku Dan Dilo De. Chaku Dan means one who has opened the eyes. That is spiritual master. Janme Janme Pita Se. Janme Janme means birth after birth, he is my father. So he was conflating them here in this discussion. And then in a different context, Prabhupada did the same thing. Actually, there's a few times, maybe half a dozen different times, where Prabhupada would quote that verse, Chakudan, and say Pita instead of Prabhu. Another time he was with devotees, Bhavananda and Prabhupada, they're talking about the Mayavadis. And Bhavananda is saying about the Mayavadis, how when they reach a certain point of advancement, then they give up, they renounce their guru. So Bhavananda said, then when he reaches a certain point, he lets go. What becomes of him? Is he also a Mayavadi? And Prabhupada said, yes, that is Mayavadi philosophy. Chakudan di loje, janme pita se. Narottam Das Thakur sings that one who has opened my eyes, my spiritual master, he's my father, life after life. So how can he say, go away now? That is Mayavadi philosophy. If guru is just some official position, then you may think, oh, I have a guru. And then when I learn what I need from the guru, I don't need any more, give up. But if you see the guru as your father, you can never give him up. Even if you want to, even if you try, you can't give him up. So this is nice that Uddhava is like that, Brihaspati Tanaya, and this is the position of spiritual master. Not just some saintly person who comes to teach something and goes away, but my eternal master, my eternal father, birth at Chakudan, Janme Pita say, life after life, he is my father. Another time after Prabhupada had his early days of ISKCON, when Prabhupada was in New York and had that stroke or heart attack or whatever it was, and had to go to the hospital. And there was actually some doubts about whether Srila Prabhupada would live. So some devotees were thinking, this is very early in ISKCON, so perhaps we can forgive their ignorance and their offensiveness. Some devotees were saying, oh, well, if Swamiji dies, maybe some other sannyasi or some other Indian sadhu or one of his godbrothers could come here and take his place and run the movement or be the guru or whatever. And Mukunda one time asked him about that, about bringing another godbrother to lead or whatever. And this is Mukunda's remembrance. He said, Prabhupada was very grave and silent. His eyes were closed. Then suddenly tears began flowing from his eyes. And he said in a choked voice, my spiritual master was no ordinary spiritual master. Then he paused for some time and wiping the tears from his cheeks, he said in an even more choked voice, he saved me. At that point, I began to understand the meaning of spiritual master and dropped all consideration of ever replacing Swamiji. So, of course, the son also loves his uncles and has a loving relationship with the uncles, but the spiritual masters, Prabhupada in particular, but the spiritual masters, Janme Pita say, it's not just official, it's a deep, loving relationship. Just like Vidura met Uddhava, and it wasn't just official meeting. Oh, hi nephew, or whatever, or shaking hands, but both with great love, embracing Alingya Gada, Pranayena, with great love, very firmly and emotionally embracing. Actually, it doesn't say here, but in Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary, it's described that Uddhava actually passed out unconscious in ecstasy when being embraced by Vidura, the great devotee Vidura. So this is the loving relationship between devotees, and specifically between spiritual master and disciple. That yes, in one sense, it's ordinary or conventional, that the disciple asks questions, the spiritual master answers, the disciple has some service to do, and the spiritual master says, you do this service, you do it like this. And in that sense, it's not mystical or anything. Prabhupada would sometimes mock those pseudo-spiritualists who believe in some kind of Shakti pot or mystical touch, that the spiritual master touches you and you get some mystical transference. It was, in one sense, ordinary, that you ask questions, you get answers, you render service, you receive blessings. And he would mock especially this Gadadhar Chatterjee rascal, sometimes under the name, who goes under the name Ramakrishna. And the story is told by his also equally rascal disciple that, my spiritual master, he touched me on the head and I felt an electric shock and I passed out unconscious. And he says, and when I woke up, my guru, he was crying. And I said, oh, why are you crying? He says, oh, I touched you, and through this electric shock, I transferred to you all my spiritual Shakti. Now I have nothing left, so I'm crying. And Prabhupada said, this is foolishness. This is not the nature of it. In one sense, it's ordinary, but it's not ordinary because it's based on the most powerful love and respect between the spiritual master and the disciple. This is also described, Narada Muni describes that Brahmachari Guru Kule Vasandanta Guror Hitam Acharan Dasavan Nicho Guru Sodrida Soridam. That this, he's talking about the Brahmachari and the Gurukul, but we can extrapolate to all disciples. We're all like in the Gurukul, in the system of being trained under the spiritual master. Vasandantu Guror Hitam, that he has to be very humble and very, like with a straw between his teeth, and very submissive, and Guror Hitam, and everything you do is not for your own benefit, but for the benefit of the spiritual master. And of course, there are so many perfect examples, including Srila Prabhupada, but I'm thinking of Krishna when he was in the ashram of Sandipani Muni, and he went out to get firewood and got lost in the forest with his friend Sudam. And that's what Sandipani Muni said the next day when they found them, that, oh, you've given up everything for your spiritual master. Therefore, I bless you with all knowledge. So this is the relationship. Very formal is not the right word, but there's etiquette and there's proper behavior, and you have to be respectful, but it's also so suffused with love, this loving relationship like a parent and child between the spiritual master and disciple. Acharan Dasavan Nicho. Prabhupada, in the translation, he says that the disciple becomes like the slave. He actually uses the word slave of the spiritual master. And Guru Sudridam Sorida. And what's the relationship? Sudridha Sorida. Sorida means surit, that deep friendship where you love and care about the other person so much, surit, but sodrida. Sudrida means it's very firm. Prabhupada calls it firm friendship. So it's friendship, but it's not like an ordinary mundane friendship. Again, Prabhupada one time said that, oh, in the material world, friendship means you meet someone and you smoke cigarette with them and then go away. So not that kind of friendship, but sudrida, soridam, this firm friendship. Just like when they embrace, this word gada, very feelingly, also literally means the same thing, firm. So this firm embrace of gadam pranaya, this firm love between the spiritual master and disciple, and between devotee and devotee. This is the relationship of devotees that, and of course, if it's a relationship with a junior or with a peer, then there may be less of the formality or a little bit less of the those considerations. And if it's with a senior person, then those things may have more importance. But in any case, we learn how, as described in Upadeshamrita, we have to learn how to distinguish devotees and how to relate differently with different devotees, how to balance these things, but especially with the spiritual master. Very friendly. There should be total love and total freedom of exchange, that the disciple can ask anything of the spiritual master, and the spiritual master can instruct anything with full confidence. Yet at the same time, sudrida soridam, so respectful that the disciple always knows, chakudan diloje janme pita say, this person has opened my eyes to spiritual life. Just like, again, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mukunda said, oh, Raghunandan, he's my son, but he opened my eyes to spiritual life. Therefore, I consider him to be my father. So what to speak of the spiritual master who is guiding us in spiritual life? So this is the beautiful relationship. Like I said, it's so nice and so affectionate and loving between these two devotees, these two amazing topmost devotees meeting each other So this is such a beautiful thing just to appreciate, and also the example of how to relate with devotees, how to relate with the spiritual master, how to balance strict etiquette with actual spontaneous love and affection. All these things are there in this very nice verse. Let's see now. What time is it? I'll read one more nice verse. When I read the Bhagavad Gita purport, I quoted that little segment. Prabhupada said, Prashanta Nishesha Manu Ratantara, that a great devotee, he's given up all mental speculation. He's no longer riding around on the chariot of the mind. Therefore, he is completely peaceful and self-satisfied. He's a Stita Muni. Prabhupada just quotes that one line from it, but that verse from Yamunacharya is actually quoted twice in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very nice verse, quoted twice. One time in the Ramananda Samvad, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, although he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he made Ramananda Roy into the father, into the spiritual master, to instruct him. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking questions and Ramananda Roy is teaching Mahaprabhu. So that's also interesting. And when finally first Ramananda Roy said, oh, the goal of life is varnashram or sacrifice or this or that, so many things. And then finally, he comes to the point of pure devotional service. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, very good. Pure devotional service. Tell me more. And the first thing Ramananda Roy teaches him is this verse, which is devotional service in the mood of servitude. And that's where that line comes from. And here's the entire verse. Bhavantam evanu charan nirantara. Oh, interesting. It also has anucharan in it. I didn't even notice that at first. That word anucharan, that the follower or the close companion. Bhavantam evanu charan nirantara, prashanta nishesha manoratantara, kanaham aikantika nitya kinkara, praharshya yishami sanata jivatam. By serving you, the devotee says, by serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? Bhavantam evanu charam nirantara. When can I become nirantara? Nirantara means eternally, always, nirantara, without an end, without end. When can I become your anuchara, your follower, your constant companion? Prashanta nishesha manoratantara. Because if I do that, then I could be completely peaceful and unmoved by lust, anger, greed, vitaraga, bhaya, krodha. Give up all of those things. Kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara. Kinkara also means very intimate servant. When I have the opportunity, aikantika, to become your exclusive, dedicated servant, praharshya shishami sanata jivatam. Then, sanata jivatam, when I have a master like you, praharshya ishami, then I can actually be happy. So when we learn how to love devotees, how to serve devotees, and also how to respect and behave with proper etiquette to devotees, and especially when we learn how to do that with the spiritual master, then prashanta nishesha manoratantara, then our spiritual advancement can accelerate very nicely. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. If there's any questions or comments, we could take them now. Yes, Vishnu Gadaprabhu.
Thank you, Acharya Prabhu.
Thank you.
You were mentioning earlier on in the class that the time frame when Vidura met Uddhava was a little bit not clear. So
Yeah,
I was just reviewing it. Go ahead.
there may be information on it, but I didn't look it up and I'm not familiar with it. Just that Prabhupada said that Vidura already knew about deaths in the family. So I
Yes.
took that to mean that at least the Kurukshetra war had happened.
Well, yeah. So Vidura left just before the Kurukshetra war,
Okay.
and then, and I get into this sometimes, the chronology, even though things aren't always chronological in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but to get some idea of the chronology is sometimes fun.
Right.
So, a couple of places, Srila Prabhupada said that Lord Krishna was no less than 90 at the time of the Battle of Kurukshetra. So then that's when Vidura left the Hastinapur.
Right.
So then if Krishna already had passed away or left, that was another 35 years later.
Oh,
So Krishna left the planet around 125.
right.
So it's very interesting that Vidura must have been traveling on pilgrimage, not just for couple of weeks going on, but he was traveling on pilgrimage for over 30 years.
Right.
And then after going on all these places to these different places of pilgrimage, he hears he goes to Prabhasha Kshetra, and he hears, because that's where the fratricidal war took place, and he hears that the Yadus had all passed away, and then Lord Krishna had passed away. So then after that he returns, and the previous verses say that he came west from there, because Prabhasha Kshetra is in Gujarat. He came west from there and then met Vidura, met Uddhava on the bank of Jamuna. But then he at some point he comes back after Krishna had left the planet and preaches to Dhritarashtra.
Hmm.
You remember?
Yes.
At the time when he preaches to Dhritarashtra, he already knew that Krishna had left the planet.
Okay.
But he doesn't reveal it to the Pandavas because he had his purpose to liberate
Right.
Dhritarashtra. So I didn't know if that happened prior to this or after this. My guess is it happened after this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So very
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm not certain. I just know it was sometimes after. But yeah, we don't. The chronology is tricky, and as complete as the Bhagavatam is, it doesn't give day by day chronicles. So sometimes figuring out exactly how long things go on, but yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for clarifying that.
And it always kind of it's an interesting point with me when I try to do the chronology, because the first part of this we hear about when Vidura is instructing Dhritarashtra, and all the
Right.
other Pandavas were there. But then after that, there's the description of Yudhishthir seeing the evil omens coming from
Right.
the age of Kali. And so then he says, then at the end of all of his speculation, does that mean that Krishna has already left the planet? Because Arjuna had gone to Dwarka to learn from Krishna. And since
Right.
that time, 7 months had passed since Arjuna went to Dwarka. So, and that was after Vidura was there preaching to Dhritarashtra. So does that mean that 7 months passed before the Pandavas found out Krishna's disappearance?
Hmm.
They didn't have internet or telephone.
Right.
But anyway, just those interesting
Yeah.
points on how to go. Then
Yeah.
another point.
It's tricky mapping it all out.
Then there's another. It said that you're talking about how just by seeing Uddhava, the people could understand he was a great devotee.
Hmm.
So I was wondering, what is that? What is that about? I mean, one thing is that he appeared like Krishna. So of course, Paundraka also appeared like Krishna, right?
That's true, or
Yeah,
in
yeah.
sense, but a discerning person would also be able to see that, superficially looking like Krishna and genuinely looking like Krishna. Maybe an intelligent person can discern that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just thinking of are there ways that you can, sometimes when I see a particular devotee, I think, wow, that's a devotee. Sometimes,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's, I can tell that's a devotee, and I don't know what that's about, but I just wonder what contributes. Of course, tilak, the shaved head, kanti, tulsi beads around the neck, all those things too. But
Right.
there's also
Looking like they're coming from Vaikuntha.
exactly. So
Yes.
then,
So
go ahead.
those things are nice, but someone who's not all seeing may not be able to judge by that criteria 100% correctly 100% of the time.
Yeah, good point. That's not just by seeing,
Yeah.
but also by hearing is more important.
Yeah. But it is nice. You see a devotee, especially if you haven't seen a devotee for a little while, or you're in a place where you're not expecting and you see someone in dhoti, sari, bead bag, all that. It is wonderful. It is enlivening to see.
Yeah. So I was wondering if, you were talking about the deep loving relationship between, ultimately the disciple and the spiritual master, and quoting the verses that we chant in the morning time. Do you have any suggestions about how we can deepen our that respectful but also emotional bond with the spiritual master?
Yeah. I I wouldn't quite put it as sometimes people use the expression fake it till you make it. So I wouldn't exactly say that, but this is what sadhana bhakti is in a sense, is that we're not on the highest platform, but by behaving in a certain way, we learn how to do that, and it also internally purifies our heart. So when we meet a devotee, we bow down. That's not as popular now as it used to be, but you do that even you don't feel like bowing down, or you think, oh, why do I bow down? Why am I bothering bowing down? So you bow down. If it's with spiritual master, you ask questions and you render service, even if you don't feel inspired in the service mood or have the very deep loving relationship. But by that give and take, by that practice, by that submission, it will grow because it's not something foreign. It's actually something natural and internal to us. So by practicing it, we bring it out.
Thank you. I know that go ahead.
And also by studying the philosophy of it. The philosophy of it will also convince us that it's valuable and important, and that will make us practice it more. And as we practice it more, we'll get more realization.
Yeah. I'm also thinking that in addition to that, those important points, that some things like, writing a offering, because we're coming up on Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day, and actually there's a GBC resolution that all ISKCON devotees are supposed to write an offering. Did you know this?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a GBC resolution. Because that's a personal offering, and sometimes philosophy becomes a little bit, it's intellectual, not as much, maybe not as personal. It's of course it is personal, but maybe sometimes we don't see that or don't feel that as much. So that's one way. Also, I think that to just like when understanding Krishna, there's the philosophy of Krishna, which is we know Bhagavad Gita and things. But even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvata." If you understand my appearance and my activities, then he doesn't say you understand my philosophy.
Right.
That's very interesting. But of course, if there's no difference between his activities and his philosophy is contained in his activities too. But still, there's a certain quality of his karma, his activities.
Right.
So appreciating the activities of your spiritual master or Srila Prabhupada might help crystallize some of those appreciations and feelings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a nice point. And that's, of course, it's not 100% necessity, but that's also helped by actually spending time with the spiritual master, if that's possible.
Yeah.
Nice points. I like that about the homage, writing the homage, and even I haven't written one to Srila Prabhupada in a few years at least. I have occasionally, but that's nice. Even if it's not shared with anyone except Srila Prabhupada, you just write it and pray it, and that's I like that. That's a very nice suggestion.
And you were talking about the Muni.
Mm.
You know, the Muni has to come up with something unique to be called a Muni. And then there's this at the point of this Tita D Muni. They're fixed at accepting the prior authorities and the prior teachings. And sometimes I find myself I really get off on points that are a little bit obscure once in a while. But and I wonder about that aspect of it. Oh, am I trying to become different, or but even the six Goswamis, they studied the Shastras and they found the jewels in them, that they were there. It was there, but they brought them out. The jewels of bhakti is there. But sometimes, studying a verse like you did today, and or a purport written here or there, something comes out that it's there already, but we didn't really get the whole point of it, and then it becomes clear, and it's wonderful to be able to express it in the line of the acharyas, and it feels new, and it's ever fresh because it is the philosophy, but it's still in the line of the succession because it's not something you made up.
Yeah, that's nice. That said about the Goswamis that they studied very scrutinizingly.
Yes.
And Prabhupada said that you should study his books threadbare.
Yes.
Was the expression he used. So that threadbare means you're like really like, what's the other example? That like compressed cotton and you fluff it out.
Yes.
So he said that's also how you study, like tightly compressed cotton, but you're fluffing it out. You're like extracting and pulling apart. There's so many threads woven together and you're pulling it apart. And yeah, and you could do any verse, actually any verse, any word of the Shastra or any class or Srila Prabhupada, you could do that and always find newer and newer and more information and inspiration. And yeah, that's nice. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Any other question or comment or discussion? Okay, it's late, it's 9 o'clock. Thank you very much, everybody, for your very kind attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Shri Radhashard Bihari and the Philadelphia devotees. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.